All right, welcome to the Creation to Cashflow podcast. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to maximize your creativity and help you achieve financial freedom. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, Nick. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. This very well. I'm calling it early. This is not to put the pressure, but this is probably going to be like one of our best episodes because we have Jose with us here today. Jose, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for the intro, and thank you, Michelle, for having me in this beautiful podcast.
Jose, I will introduce you first to the best of my abilities, but you're one of those people that it's so hard to just like say in a sentence or two, like what you do or how impactful that it is. But I mean, I met Jose in Costa Rica when me and Mike were there, and we spent a week with Jose working on essentially just tapping into our higher self. There is so much more to that, and we're going to dive in. But Jose, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself and talk about like exactly what it is that you do, and then we can really dive into the episode.
Hmm. Thank you, Nick. So I'm still also getting the words to be able to explain what I do. Um, in simple words, I could say that I support individuals into reclaiming their life from spirit, from the inner world, all the way to the higher self, all the way to the 3D world. I support individuals into remembering who they are. And that's why I've often called myself a life alchemist, that through breath, through certain esoteric practices, but also very 3D practices, we are able to become the chemist of our life to bring the gold from within.
So good, so powerful. You have such a way with words. I can't wait to just go a layer deeper. Jose, we were talking the other night about this like 3D self versus your higher self, and you referred to it as your 5D self. To me, I sometimes forget that like there is more to life than just my 3D self. Like who I am and what I see and what's right in front of me. There is so much more to life. And living in New Jersey, sometimes it's hard because everything about this environment suppresses your 5D self. But Jose, I want to give you a chance to essentially explain like what is the higher self and how can someone maybe start to tap into this using breath work and some other methods.
Mm. That's a really good question. And we could definitely spend a whole podcast about this topic for sure.
Yes.
I want to just refer to what you said about like sometimes you forget about that you're not only just the 3D. And this is, I think this is the basis of the work I do. And I think the big shift that happens in people when they start to realize that they're not only the 3D. And I think we could pinpoint that our educational system has never ever taught us that there's something beyond the senses. We're always shown like Simon says, or someone, or I see this, or I touch this, or I smell this, but we've never told like how do you feel inside. And what we often stop even talking about our dreams as we grow up. We start to just talk about success and very tangible things, and then we get lost, and then of course you end up in a place that you're like, I just know what I see, there's nothing else, but there's always this lack. So that's why I think it's a very important thing to understand that there's multiple layers of what we call self. And the first thing is to start asking, who am I? They say this is one of the most important questions we can do, like ask, who am I? Because you get the job, you get the titles, you get the beautiful husband or wife, the house, the cars, or maybe you don't have any of those things, but you still feel unfulfilled. And when you start to understand that we're more than matter, that we're spirit, you start to connect to what is often referred as a higher self, which I don't like to put so much energy into that because I don't want to feel that we have to separate ourselves. But let's say it's like it's one part of ourself that is absolute, that is non-conditional to our environment. And I always say that this is the most pristine part of ourself, the soul. So the sooner we start to connect and create this inner dialogue with ourself, it's with nobody else, it's with ourselves, you start to really know who you are, and this is priceless.
So I want to kind of touch a little bit on what my experience has been like working with Jose, not just in terms of, because I mean we did so much together in this week, Jose. We were doing breath work, and we were using plant medicines, and we did a lot. And during that week, like I felt more connected to, because you're right, like it's not a separate thing, but like it's just this part of us that sometimes we forget about or we neglect. And I felt so in touch with my higher self. And I want to just start with like something everyone can do all the time, which is breath work, and how breath work can help someone start to just tap into themselves more.
Mm. I'm gonna say something that if anybody that has heard me speak in the past or attended one of my workshops probably has heard me say, but I keep repeating this to myself as a reminder and to everybody. The first thing we do when we come into this world, when we're born, what's that? We take a breath. That will define if we live or we die as we're born. And what's the last thing we do before transitioning to the other world or whatever we want to believe is we take a last breath. So I've come to my understanding and in my humble opinion that the way we breathe and the quality of our breath throughout from the first breath until the last breath will for sure determine the quality of our life. And I've had many people tell me, Jose, but what do you mean? I'm always breathing. Yeah, you could be driving, but does that mean that you're present while you drive, or you just autonomically doing that? And with breath is the same. At the beginning maybe it took more consciousness, or really was just like automatic, but as we start to regain our consciousness into our breath, we start to differentiate between just breathing and breathing consciously. That's why we've learned through many practitioners, including Wim Hof, which is always a great inspiration and a teacher, that if we start our morning with conscious breathing, chances are that the rest of our day will be in a conscious way, because we are setting the standard in our breath. And by doing a short sequence like 10 minutes, 16-minute breath work in the morning, we are already priming our body, not only for the day, but for the next 76 hours. Our body will be breathing in a more conscious and harmonious way.
When we were in Costa Rica, you had us every single day. Every day started with an hour of breath work, and so I guess some days were maybe a little shorter, a little longer, but roughly an hour. And truly every single one, and we were waking up at 6 a.m. to do this, or maybe it was 6:30. And like I don't mind getting up early, but you're right. Like it was just, I was living in a completely different way throughout the day. Like everything was different for me. How I felt, how I thought, the things that I felt compelled to do. And it was easy to just let my intuition guide me versus most people wake up. I spend most of my life doing this, so I'm not talking down to anyone who does this, but like in the past, usually I would wake up to an alarm clock, and I know I'm set up for a day that I'm not going to enjoy. So I would snooze that alarm as many times as I can and try and put off the inevitable moment where I have to wake up. And now I'm in a rushed, panicked state, trying to rush out the door to work or whatever I have going on. And it was so grounding to just put myself first, especially through your guidance, and just focus on the most important thing, which is you and your life and your energy, and starting your day with that. Michelle, you start your days with you.
Oh, yeah.
You're great at this. Can you speak on that a little bit as well?
Yeah, I refuse to look at my phone when I first wake up. I can't do it. I can't get anything in my head that is external. I need to really like every morning start with my little 5-minute journal. It's a daily gratitude journal, and I just write down my thoughts. A lot of them are the same every morning, but it's getting me prepped for what I need to do that day so I can bring my best self to those around me and to my work. So, I love looking at the sunrise. I love just being in silence. I I would say like about an hour after I wake up, I'll grab my phone, but it's only after I've taken care of myself. I've done some stretching, especially because I'm in the same position all night. I need to like wake up and stretch and breathe and do my journal, and then eventually I'll get to my phone. But it's like, I know that if I just went to my phone, I would be giving 80% of what I could give that day instead of really filling my tank first so then I can give for the rest of the day. So I discovered that in 2020. So that was like 4 years ago now that I had this like huge life transformation, and I will never go back because I don't ever want to feel so depleted and like I'm on a hamster wheel ever again.
Mm.
It's it's a battle too in the morning. Like I have to fight so hard to put myself first like that, and even still I lose that battle often. But I mean, having some sort of tool in your toolbox, whether it's breath work or that gratitude journal, something to start the day with, has been so good for me. Um, Jose, we'll be sure to drop in the links here, or like in the description, all sorts of resources because Jose has so many good like breathwork exercises that people can just do at home. Like once I got back from this trip, I was using some of them, and every day, my day starts with Jose. Now it starts with a recording from Jose every day that I possibly can, and it sets me up for the most amazing day. Like the days I don't do it, I just can't wait to like get back on track
Mm.
tomorrow and be like, I forgot how much worse I feel when I don't
Mm.
do this.
Yeah, and I feel like what Michelle said, and like what you were saying, Michelle, about once you start taking back your life in the mornings, that's what I call reclaim your life. We've been raised in a system that we give ourselves thinking that we're doing the best, but then we're not even giving our best and we're not feeling our best, and then we
Mhm.
wonder why we're going to bed stressed and depressed and anxious. And all it took, it was like focusing on yourself, taking time for yourself in the morning to give thanks to what you're doing. I call it airplane mode. Being in airplane mode, until you don't do you, you cannot do anything else, and there's nothing more important. There's no text message, no post, no investment, not no email more important than having that conversation with yourself. And when you start doing that, you set up a new standard. And what you're talking about, Nick, is about once you try it, you cannot go back. That's why, Michelle, you're saying you will never be able to go back and give your best time to something else that is not you, because you set the standard, you taste the divine nectar of the gods, as I call it, and then you're like, this is it, I'm not gonna give myself away.
Yeah, I feel like I can't unknow what I know now. And it's like I don't ever want to feel like not who I'm meant to be ever again. It just doesn't even feel like something I would want to go back to. So, and yeah, I keep my phone on do not disturb 24/7, and it's gotten me in a little bit of conversations with family members and people because they're
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Why do you never answer my calls? Why?" But it's I'm not ready yet to allow all of these notifications and things to infiltrate my creativity during the day. It's something that I know isn't common in our society, but I had to put a boundary up. So even something as simple as that is something that like it's not even just the morning, it's my whole day that I'm like really protecting and guarding what I allow in my life and my energy.
Mm.
It's really hilarious when I have to send Michelle an important text. And it's just like sometimes it could be days before I hear from her. Typically, you're pretty good because I feel like I'm high up on the queue of importance. So you get back to me pretty fast. But I could imagine how some people are like, Michelle truly has a 2 week delay in texting me back. But like sometimes that's what it takes because there is so much constantly. Like my phone rings constantly with notifications, and like that was something I implemented. I now use airplane mode or do not disturb whenever I can, but even still it's hard. So Jose, I want to kick it back to you and like where did your journey begin of like reclaiming your life and rewriting the story? Where did it begin and how did it get you here?
Mm. um I guess, like, since I remember, I've always felt that something was not right with what I was being told. Um, Short context: I went through 11 schools growing up, while when I was living in Spain, and I was not a troublemaker. I just really didn't care to learn what I was being taught, and I just felt like something was not fitting in. At least what I felt, it was a feeling that this is not true. history and everything. I just felt it was like nonsense. It was just information just to saturate my mind, and I had to then like vomit it out in the exam, and that will tell if I'm a good person or a bad person, a good student, bad student. So I never felt that I fit in too much in society, or in what it was normal, and that was a blessing. Now looking back, I noticed it was a blessing because it allowed me to question things, and just to question everything. Why are things this way? Why are things that way? And then I realized that the story, and then I somehow I ended up going to university, and I did enjoy a bit of it, but then I saw that everybody was looking for this like success or happiness like down the road, like in 4 years I will have my private office, I was told, and you will get this and that. I was like, that when I heard that, I will feel my body cringe. I was like, that sounds like horrible, having to look to having my private office or get this amount of money. Why not now? Why not me? And through this questioning and looking for answers, I realized that definitely the story of making money, getting married, uh, having kids, having a dog, all these things did not feel they were like so important, because I saw people that had those things in their life, and most of them they were not happy. So I'm like, okay, so if that story that I've been told and is being told, and people are paying a lot of money to go to university to be able to fulfill this story, or going into mortgage, all these things is not making people happy, then what makes people happy? And
Mhm.
in this search, I started to learn about healthy eating, and I wanted to feel good in my body. And then I ended up doing plant medicine in Peru exactly 10 years ago. And it was ayahuasca, and it showed me a whole new version of my life. It was like, you can do this, it'll be good, but if you dedicate yourself to serving others, it will be much greater. And that's when I committed fully into learning about the mind, learning about body, learning about happiness, learning about breath. And this is where I am now. I've been able to be in service, which has been to be in service of myself for all these years, and very blessed to be able to know that there's a way. And that's what I know, like, if I was able to find a way to be able to be happy without needing something outside of myself, and at the same time knowing that if you make things outside of yourself, they will also support you, but everything starts from within. And that has been the journey, to know that it starts in your heart, it starts in your breath, and from there you can expand through any area of your life.
That's so that's such an inspiring journey, Jose, and I'm sure that could be a whole nother podcast episode too. You're the type of guest that we're gonna have to have back multiple times. But when did you end up in Costa Rica and on this journey to finding yourself? I know you've traveled to so many different places. Do you feel like do you feel like essentially leaving where your journey began and you felt like something wasn't right? Do you feel like traveling to all of these different places and working with others, like how pivotal was that in essentially rewriting your story?
Mm. So just to give context, I was born in Mexico, but then I grew up in Spain. Then I was in Vancouver for university, so I had a little bit of a world citizen lifestyle, I guess. I never felt I belonged from in any place. I just loved the world, and I started to travel, looking for a place that I could find my tribe. I was with my now wife, partner back then, traveling, looking for a place that I didn't have to hide who I was, and also that I was surrounded by like-minded people. Think of it like, if I'm a tech entrepreneur, I was looking for Silicon Valley. I was like, where it's a place that I can learn about this, also share my ideas, and be accepted as one. Took me to Bali, took me all over the world, like Southeast Asia, Philippines. I lived everywhere, and then I found Costa Rica, and that was, wow, this is like Avatar, like clean, pristine, safe, beautiful community. And yeah, that's where we live now, and it's been a blessing. And um, I think it's, in summary, you could say, like, it's important to be in an environment that supports your growth and that inspires you, and that is gives you the right nutrients to be your highest version. I see so many people trying again to I can make it up. I can make it in this place just because they want to prove the world, prove their parents, prove themselves mostly that they can thrive in London. Even though they hate London, it's gray and it's horrible and it's smoky and it's traffic. Just to prove, like, why would you put an orchid in middle of a desert? Bring the orchid to its natural environment. So I believe we all have a natural environment. If where you are doesn't feel like it, find it. There's a place for you.
Oh my gosh, you're speaking to my soul right now because that's 4 years ago. After I really, like I said, changed everything, I was brought to Los Angeles, and this is where my tribe is. I'm an actress, I'm a creative, I'm a content creator. Like, I feel so at home here. So it's just so crazy you putting it into those words because it's like, I thrive here, but some people don't because they're trying to want to make it in Los Angeles instead of just like trying to figure out and learn and just like realize who they truly are. So,
Mm.
wow, I've never heard anybody put it into words like that.
And you said this happened 4 years ago, right?
4 years ago was a whole transformation, yeah, in my
And this
life.
is when you started giving yourself that morning routine in the morning,
Oh, yep, it was, yeah.
because you start to listen to yourself. You start to listen, you start to take away the noise, and you're like, okay, what does Michelle want? Where does she feel good? Oh, I found my place. And so it's so beautiful to see. you know we've been talking a lot about Bitcoin with Nick, and they always have a saying: don't trust, verify. Whatever we're saying here, don't trust, verify. Like, see how it feels to give yourself time, and you will end up exactly where you have to be.
Hmm, it's true.
I told you how good he is, right, Michelle?
Oh, yeah, you bragged about him a lot, and I was like, bring it on, come on. Like, I'm all for this
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Absolutely. To me, like that's hitting so that hits so hard with me, Jose, because like I'm still in the place where I'm like, this isn't where I'm called to be. And like there's so many things I love about New Jersey, but like I know where I'm being called to and like where I need to go. And it's just so interesting to hear essentially like you said, like you have to verify it. Like go. You have to just go do
And
the
let me add
thing.
one thing. Let me add one thing. I I think we're in a time in our lives, everybody watching this, you guys, myself, where I have this rule, which I don't like rules, but I have this kind of rule for myself. If it's not a fuck yes, it's not a yes.
Hmm.
And if where you are, I'm not saying to you, Nick, personally, but if where you are is not a fuck yes, why be there? It doesn't mean like, oh, I'm running away from the place. Make peace with all parts of that. Don't run away, but move into a place that you feel upgraded. And it has to be a fuck yes. We could all die tonight. We could all die tomorrow. And I always think, if I look at myself in the mirror tonight and knowing that tomorrow I will die, will I die at peace knowing that I did and I lived and I breathed and I sang as much as I wanted? If it's not yes, what are you waiting for? That's the narrative of waiting for the holy grail somewhere, when it's here now. You just have to choose to be here now.
That's so good. That as soon as you said that, my body like I felt my body like get hot because I was like, it is not. This is not a fuck yes here. Like it's not. I need the sun on me every single day, every morning. Like that. That's like my rule. And if I'm not getting that, I mean, yeah, I have set myself up successfully in the 3D world. So I got my infrared sauna and like I've got all of my tools to try and make it work, but like why am I trying to fit a puzzle piece into a place where it's clear that it doesn't fit there? So it's just so great to listen to you, and everyone who listens to you has breakthroughs. Like I've watched this happen, like when you are meant to guide people, Jose, because you know right how to, even if you don't know someone so well, you know how to help them find the answers that they already knew, but like maybe they had been ignoring some of the signs. Um, Speaking of which, Jose, a big thing that has helped me identify all of this is like opening the portal. And I love when you refer to the portal. I would love for you to explain as best you can, like, what does that mean? And then I'll kind of talk about how I've been able to bring some of that back to New Jersey.
Mm. Um, Simple words would be deep presence. A portal is deep presence, where everything stops, everything slows down, and when you can be fully present with your breath and with what is being said and what is being received. As you just mentioned, like, I'm like, anybody that wants to tell you how to do your life, it's a preacher. And I'm not a preacher, and I think nobody here is a preacher. And anybody that tells you how things are, walk away the other way, because he who knows doesn't speak, and he who doesn't know speaks. But for me, opening the portal is asking the right questions to create the right flow state, so the channeling begins. And what is the channeling? It could be the downloads, if you want to talk about a little bit more like high vibe language, but basically just being present with all the answers that are always flowing into your consciousness. That's the portal. The portal is with intention and presence, allowing the divine, remember the higher self, to communicate to you and be like, hey, this is what you've been looking for. Just keep breathing and pay attention. So the portal is a way I always use when I'm speaking, like, let's be fully present. So let's open the portal. And that already is like a trigger. It's like a trigger, like, okay, let's be fully present. What is gonna be flowing? And once you create this certain standard for the conversation, everything that has to be said will be said, and you will acknowledge everything that has to be acknowledged.
That's a really good way to put it because I mean, to me, like when I was when you had helped me open the portal, I was learning things about myself that I was like, I knew this and I've been ignoring it. And one of the biggest ones was like, 'cause I've talked about this a little on the podcast, but not so much like how it began. Um, Instruments. Like I had no I- instruments in New Jersey. Like I don't really know anyone that can play instruments. It's just not really much of a thing because like you don't really make a lot of money directly from playing an instrument. So, and if it's not paying the bills, like most people here don't have time for it. It is too hard to just make ends meet. So, most people don't play instruments. And spending time with you, Jose, and like you've got your guitar most places, and it felt like everyone in Costa Rica. I was like, how do you? Does everyone know 11 instruments? I was like, what's going on here, and how does everyone have time to even learn an instrument? And then I realized that just by like putting yourself first and listening, opening the portal and listening to what your body and your mind and your soul want, almost always they just want to express and be creative and just have fun. So as soon as the day I got back from Costa Rica, I went to like an instrument store, I guess, for lack of a better word. I don't think that's what it would be called, but I've never been to a place that sells instruments. So I went. It was closed. It was locked. Their Google hours were not actually reflecting their hours. So the next day I went back and then I bought a guitar and the guy kind of explained, he was like, I wouldn't go like too expensive. He was like, most people just they bring them back in a month and it's collected dust and they're trying to sell it back. So he was like, I wouldn't go too expensive. And I was like, I bet every person says to you, like, oh no, like I'm going to be different. But I was like, sir, you don't understand where I have been for the last week. I was like, you sell me this guitar right now. The only reason I bring it back is because I accidentally broke it from playing it too much.
Mm,
So I bought a guitar. I crave to play it constantly. Like I'm constantly just looking to tap in because I feel like when I play an instrument, it opens the portal. You're not on your phone, you're there with your thoughts and you're honing in a craft. And I had no clue. Like, it felt like I was just born with so many things that you've helped me realize. I was like, what have I been doing with my life? Why does everyone not play an instrument? So, Jose, how has the guitar and any other instruments in music helped you figure things out about yourself, Jose?
mm. Um, so I've always wanted to play guitar, and I was the kid that had a guitar but never played the guitar. I don't want to blame it on the teachers, but I think it was not exciting. It was very like mental when I was a kid. But I was in the jungle in Brazil visiting my teachers um, of plant medicine, and I realized all the kids played the instrument. I'm like, wait a minute, these kids that live like far in the jungle, you need to take like two airplanes, one small Cessna, a 6 hour boat ride. They're all playing ukulele and mandolin and guitar. Uh, and I'm like, how is this possible? And I'm like, I get it. These guys have no distractions. So of course, if you don't have distractions, you want to create. And that's what Michelle was saying. Like, she's in airplane mode, and then she's just working on her acting and creativity and content. And I realized, okay, distractions are taking us away. We're giving away our power to distractions. And of course, we cannot create and be distracted at the same time. And we tend to believe we're too busy, and it's almost a thing that we're very proud in modern day. I'm too busy, look at my calendar. I have people that show me, look at my calendar, I have no space. I'm like, that's not cool. Like, I will not be I will be hiding away my calendar if it was so busy. Reclaim your life. Again, reclaim your life. Make space for you, make space for your loved ones, make space for communication and dialogue. I don't think everybody has to play an instrument, but we could all benefit from playing an instrument because it allows you to see that you can learn. I started very late. Like, I didn't like, in comparison to other people, like I started like 3 4 years ago, and I'm pretty happy of where I am. And I know I'm just grasping like the tip of the iceberg. But if I allow me to see that anything is just a skill, it doesn't matter talent. Like, it's a skill you gain, and I can do it. So if I can learn the guitar, how many other things I can learn? Two, like, it's so beautiful to be able to bring the melody we have in our heart, and it could be through art and painting, it could be also through content creation, it could be through dancing, through acting. But music is something that joins, like, that brings us all together, and it's like a universal language. Like, we don't have to speak the same language. I play a few strums and you feel good, and you're like, oh, I want to sit next to Jose, and you start maybe singing and chanting, which happened in the retreat. So I feel like we've lost the sense of enjoyment. We always do things with like, oh, I'm gonna play music to make money. There's always like the outcome or the benefit, but what about just playing for the sake of being? And I think that's that one of the major things that music has brought into my life is just being able to have fun, bringing that music I have within and be able to share with others. I think it's a great gift we can give to ourselves and to the world, to play more in any way. Music, play more, whatever, play more and worry less.
I've definitely showed people my calendar before and like wanted them to be impressed at how loaded up it was, because that is like the measure of success oftentimes. So I thought, right? And then like I'm much more jealous of someone that has an empty calendar now, because obviously like you don't want to be doing nothing. Like, you want to have goals and chase things and do things, but you have to be prioritizing yourself first. And it's funny you mentioned that calendar thing, but also, yeah, you're right. Like, the night I actually met you um was during a cacao ceremony, and we were sitting next to each other, and you broke out the guitar and started playing and singing, and you passed me a maraca, and like we kind of jammed out for like 10 minutes. Everyone else was just like singing, doing their thing, and we had the only two instruments, I think. Maybe someone had a flute, and it was it just immediately took me back to like, music is so healing and fun, and it made me want to, like, I had a moment where I was like, I'm having so much fun right now with a maraca, like sitting next to someone that has a guitar and someone else has a flute, and then we've got Elisa singing and other people are humming, and I was like, wow, we are so disconnected here in where I'm from. Anyway, I can't speak for, like, I don't want to group the entire US into one place, but like, I was like, we are so disconnected from the things that actually matter and make you feel good. And it was nice to have a tribe. It was nice to have a tribe and find the tribe. Michelle, do you, before we like, we could jump around topics and things, but do you want to add or like hit on anything there?
It kind of confirms why I went back from creating content that was like talking style back to editing videos to music. Because there's something so, because I was a dancer and cheerleader my whole life. And so I love the synchronicity between movement and music. And so in my videos now, I just there's something so recharging for my battery about editing to music and having like a good upbeat aesthetically pleasing like video, and it's like the same fulfillment I get from that isn't when I'm just like creating content where I'm talking to a camera. I mean, but I do love stuff like this, but there's just something so special about music. And I know our body is an instrument. When I'm an actress, like that is literally, this is my instrument and I have to work on that. That's why I'm so passionate about myself and taking care of myself, because how am I going to fine tune my instrument if I'm not present in what I'm doing? So everything you're saying, I know these things. I just never heard it put into words so beautifully. Nick, you're just so right. He's so great with his words.
Mm.
It's true.
I would like to expand about, I think one of the most important teachings I've been able to receive and that I share, and I am sure I share it with you guys in the retreat, Nick, is the last thing you said, how I need to fine tune my instrument. And this is like, I think, one of the biggest programs that I've seen in modern society. We become experts in everything. Nick is an expert, is a civil engineer. He knows how to build roads. He knows how to put numbers together and equations and gravitational and forces and tension. We have people that are experts in every sort of thing, but not themselves. And you can buy the nicest guitar, the top shelf guitar, the best car, but if you don't put the right oil to the car or the right tires, or if you don't tune the guitar, it will not sound good. And this is what I feel, our body is a temple and an instrument, and we have the potential to have the sound and perform like the gods or goddesses. Yet very few of us have learned how to fine tune our instrument. And through breath work, through meditation, through movement, through dancing, through healthy eating, through conscious relating, through conscious speaking, we're able to fine tune our instrument. And then there's no doubt that the expression of this instrument is going to be divine. But we're so focused in learning things outside of ourselves that we forget about this instrument. So I think it's very valuable what you shared, Michelle. Like, dance, move, just make sure you take care of your body.
Yeah, and all of my success and my business ideas and my entrepreneurship came after I decided I'm going to take a step back from all the volunteering I was doing. And it was right when COVID hit, so I had to be at home and I slowed down. I started seeing a therapist. I started exercising again. I started eating healthier. I still, to this day, have not had fast food since March of 2020, and I will not eat fast food. It is so bad for my health. And it's like, the crazy thing is I used to try to chase the success, but now the success comes to me because I'm taking care of myself and I'm attracting what is meant to be in my life. And so I I think that I always thought it was so backwards up until 4 years ago, where I was doing the wrong things instead of just taking care of myself and allowing things to come my way that are meant to be there.
Mm. So beautiful, allowing success to come to you. That's divine.
Yeah.
Wow, this is already just so good. I know all of the listeners. By the way, the episode is not over, but just before the end, Jose, I want to just give you a chance to plug anything, your socials, any retreats that you've got coming up, anything at all. I want to just give you a chance to, like, where can people find more Jose before we keep going?
Mm. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, so my handle is breathe with Jose, and breathe with Jose. And also, you can go to my website, Jose Reynoso, Reynoso.life. And there you can download a free guided morning practice. Again, I don't think you need to do an hour. This is 16 minutes. And in 16 minutes, I can tell you your life will transform. I've had people like you, Nick, doing my breath meditation for years. They still come to me, like, I still hear your voice every day. And it just makes sense to take care of your mind first thing in the morning. And just a heads up for those of you wanting to learn more about breathwork, I'm going to be doing a breath training at the end of like summer, like July, August. It's going to be online and in person, and you'll get the details on my website. But connect, send me a message, let me know how it goes when you start breathing with me.
I'm going to that,
Mhm.
so
I
you could.
I already
We
just
have
went
to.
and followed you, and I need whatever this breathwork thing is. Did you say you have something like on YouTube or maybe Instagram, like a video that I could try or start doing tomorrow morning?
So if you go to my website, yeah, you get a free breath practice. You can download it, and it's not a video, just audio, because
Perfect.
reclaiming your morning, I want you to just have it in your cell phone. You put your headphones, you lay down, and you're just guided. It and the reason to be guided is that it allows you to not even think. You just relax deeply. And I find even myself when I put my own recording, it's so nice to just be guided. You feel trust, you feel surrender, and yeah, it's divine.
Have you, this is such a random question. Have you ever heard of the Alexander technique?
No.
No? Okay. A lot of yoga instructors and actresses do it, and just people in general. It's just about um, fine tuning and just being present and breathing and everything. I just didn't know if you'd heard about it.
Mm.
It's really great.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, I can't emphasize enough. If you've been listening to this episode, you have to go download that and go do it tomorrow morning. Do it right now. Whatever time it is before you forget, you guys have to go check that out. You'll be so glad you did. Um, all right, Jose, I had this one written down because I think there's a lot we could do here. Can we talk about ownership?
Mm. Um, I think we've been talking a little bit about ownership, about like owning your morning, owning your body, owning the instrument. Um, but this is a big topic because we are living again in society. And by the way, I know I keep referring to society, and I love the world, and I'm deeply in love with the world, but there's many false beliefs and programs that we've adopted as our own. So one of this is about ownership. We've delegated our life to institutions, to doctors, to social media, to pills, to drugs, to sex, and to alcohol, and many other things. I want to feel good. It's up to the doctors. It's the responsibility of the doctor. I want to feel happy. I need to have alcohol to feel good, or drugs. I want to feel fulfilled. I need porn or sex or whatever that I have to outsource somewhere. And all of those are temporary ways of feeling good, but until we don't take extreme ownership of our life, we'll be highly manipulable. And that's what we see in the world. Like everybody's anxious or depressed, and then we watch something, I feel good, but then I'm already owned by that system or by that platform. Hence, Pornhub is the number one website on the world, the most visited website in the world, because men and women, I know there's lots of women also part of it, need to feel loved or fulfilled, and they outsource that to a website. So, extreme ownership, which Jocko Williams talks a lot about it, for me is taking control of your life, which, by the way, is the only thing we can control. I don't know if anybody has been trying to control the world. I mean, there's people trying. It's literally it's a it's a battle with no end, because you will never be able to control your peers, your parents. You can do your best, but you will burn out.
Yeah.
And the best way to take control of life is by controlling your mind, controlling yourself. And this takes ownership. It means, for me, I see extreme ownership as samurai katana, one of those big swords. It's a double-edged sword. On one side, it means everything that has happened in my life, as long as I had the power of decision and choice, is because of me. No more blaming, no more pointing fingers, no more hating on others, not even my parents, not even society. It has been my responsibility. But I'm not here to give you the weight and the burden of that. The other side of the katana is everything that can happen and will happen onward now is because of you. And this is so empowering. It's to know that you have the chance and the possibility to change drastically your life for good. But this requires extreme ownership. You don't like what you see in the mirror? Do something about it. Start complaining. Stop saying that you're the victim. Stop saying that your parents fed you garbage food, or that you live in America where there's lots of like fast food, and take ownership of your life. Eat simple, watch, you're just literally a few YouTube videos away from mastering your life. Now we have so much information that you can master any aspect of your life, but this requires extreme ownership. It means waking up to know that I cannot blame or delegate my happiness, my health, my well being, my sexual desires, my finances, my self love to anything outside of myself. And that's why I think like extreme ownership is one of those qualities that we are all being invited to grow. We all have the potential, but to grow and to invite more into our life. Because if it's not you, who? If it's not now, when? What are you waiting for? Like, you need to act now, because the only thing that we cannot get more is time. And that's why extreme ownership is owning your life no matter what.
Yeah, well, that's really well said. I also really relate to like Jocko Willink and the fact that you mentioned him because when I first started like posting on social media, it was a lot of it was inspired by Jocko Willink being like, take ownership of your life. Like, you don't like your circumstances, do something about it. And I was like, well, I can't stand my circumstances. I will die if I have to keep working at this civil engineering job. No offense to everyone here who enjoys it, but I was like, this ain't gonna work for me. So, I mean, I also like, I'm super spiritual too. He's like the furthest extreme of like, I don't think that he's a super spiritual guy. And I was like, how do I find the balance between like the hustle side, like the Jocko Willink, and like the manifestation side? My first two videos, polar opposites, that ever went viral. One was about my vision board that I had hung above my mirror. It got 500,000 views. And I was like, I was so embarrassed to even put it up in the first place because I was only just starting to like let people in on my life and my spiritual side, and I have been like this like tough guy my whole life, like too cool for everything always was like my thing. So then like showing people like I have a vision board that I practically pray to every night, was like very vulnerable of me, and it got a ton of exposure, and I was like, people love this. And then one time, after a 10-hour day of the civil engineering job, and then going to a 90-minute jujitsu class, I had 15, maybe 10 minutes to myself, and I made a video about Jocko Willink's like 8-minute Navy SEAL nap, and that ended up getting 40 million views and like totally changing the course of my life. And like people like in the news like trying to ask me like, where'd you come up with this? And I'm like, I didn't come up with this at all. I literally credit Jocko Willink in the video. I was like, I just had 10 minutes before jujitsu. I was in a phase of like, just make content about shit you're doing. So I took 2 minutes to make a video and then 8 minutes to take a nap. And I went to jujitsu and got my ass kicked for 90 minutes and come home bloody and battered. And then I was like, this has 20,000 views. Like, nothing has ever gotten that many views that quick. And then I woke up to 20,000 new followers and I was like, we got something. We got something here. We got life. We got a reason. We got a reason to keep posting and keep going. So I love that. I love that you how spiritual and connected and tapped in you are, but that you also like the hustle side and like the Jocko Willing side. Like I'm always trying to find the balance between the hustle side and the manifestation side, because like right in between there is a good place to be. My issue is that I gravitate towards the hustle side way too much, and then I think I'm doing good because I have a full calendar, and because like I'm like, oh great, I'm busy and I'm working myself to the bone, that's good. And then I gotta remember like, no, that's not good, that's not what it's not what it's about at all. So everything you say is eye-opening, Jose. It's so good.
Nick, I think it's so funny how you gravitate towards that side and I gravitate towards the other side, where I'm like, oh, no, I actually do need to look at my emails and respond to my assistant and do other things. Like, but I'm so peaceful and zen right now. I don't want to. So I sometimes have to be like, okay, Michelle, I still handle my responsibilities, but I just think it's funny how we're so opposite sometimes.
Yeah, I'm constantly lighting myself on fire to keep others warm, and I'm like, stop. I need to stop. I need to be reminded not to do it. So I take so much from you, Michelle, too. I had never used the do not disturb function on my phone like before like you had put me onto that. And even still, it took 45 times of you saying that you do that before I gave it a try and was like,
It's life
yeah,
changing.
everybody leave me the fuck alone.
It's life changing.
It was nice.
Yeah. Literally life changing. It's such a simple thing. You just swipe down and hold it down, boom, and it can change your entire life.
Yeah. I had no clue. I was like, I could turn the world off,
Mm.
and it's nice. It's a really nice feeling. So anyway, one last thing I want to hit on, Jose, because we've touched on plant medicines, but like most people, like when you say plant medicine, everyone's brain is probably going to like ayahuasca and weed. That I think that's where most people's brains probably go to. And like weed is legal in New Jersey and California where Michelle is at. I don't know how big of a role that plays like for people you know, Michelle, but like everybody smokes here. It is everybody smokes weed in New Jersey, which used to be like the California stereotype, I feel like, but then they legalized it in New Jersey and dispensaries are everywhere now. And it's like, so what I want to do is kick it to you, Jose. I want to hear your thoughts on like weed as a plant medicine because I think most of our listeners are in the US and this is what they're probably going to relate to more because most people don't have much ayahuasca experience, but they think of that too. So anyway, I want to just kick it to you to
Mm,
like talk about this.
mm, beautiful. Yeah, it's a very alive topic in the US, around the world, but the US right now, as it's being legalized and accepted socially. Um, I mean, I was a big stoner growing up. Because I did not enjoy school and I did have no purpose or passion and no instrument. I was smoking a lot, so I can speak from firsthand. And in Spain, we used to be able to get a lot easy. I feel like a medicine is a medicine when it's used with that intention, and I was not doing it in that way. I was using it to escape and to tap out. So I'm not here to judge anybody smoking weed, marijuana, or hash or cannabis. The question to ask is, why are you using it? Are you at the end of your day in such a nice relaxed state flow that you're like, oh, I'm gonna smoke and roll a cannabis spliff or a joint, and I'm gonna go into flow state and make music? Amazing. Or are you accessing marijuana at the end of the day because you feel burnt out, you feel stressed, and you need something to take away the weight and the pain of the day, the suffering? Same as alcohol, having a glass of wine to really enjoy the moment with a nice dinner, or are you having a glass of wine because you can't tolerate your in-laws or your partner or your kids? So I feel like it's good that there's no restriction in terms of accessing marijuana, because I think we're all adults and we all have the right as sovereign beings to be able to choose what we put into our body. The thing is with the promotion that it comes, that like it's totally fine to do it. And by the way, the marijuana that we got in the States is like 20-30% higher THC, which is what gets you high, than what normal natural marijuana used to be in nature. So it's no longer like the natural stage, like hybrids and super lots of, I call them like weed steroids. They're like pumped up. And are you using this as a medicine? Are you conscious of using it, or is it just a habit like smoking cigarettes? um, Tobacco is also considered a medicine for the indigenous people, but they use it in a very special way with a prayer. But when we start smoking cigarettes all day, it's no longer a medicine. Something that I feel like when you need something, it's no longer a medicine, it's a dependency, it's an addiction. If you're consecrating with Santa Maria, with a Holy Mary, with marijuana, in a way that you're conscious, you're making a good intention with somebody or by yourself, and you're taking the time to consecrate with it, let it be. But if you are using this medicine as a tap out, then it's maybe time to think, am I actually addicted to it? Do I need some help with it, or is it a hunch that I'm using to get by my day?
That's really well said.
That's why I stopped personally. I stopped fully because I realized I was tapping out, and I was like, why do I need to tap out? Life is so amazing. Better I do my work. I exercise. I have good nutritional food. I feel alive. I don't need marijuana because I feel great. If you have cancer, if you have one of these illness or disease, that's what it's meant for. Or people that have certain, I don't know, like imbalance. But when you depend on it, it can get tricky.
Yeah, a lot of people use it as an escape to, like you said, forget or just like distract themselves. It's almost like eating the junk food because you're stressed out and you need some dopamine or something, or binge watching TV. It's like you're just trying to escape your life and anything, even if it's not weed, even if it is the TV or the food, like those are still things that you have to take ownership of and take better care of yourself so you don't have to escape. Like my life, I feel like I don't have to escape. Like I love my life. I love being alone. I love being with people. I love everything and I don't feel that escape anymore. because of everything you're saying.
Mm.
I've definitely used it as a crutch to escape things before. Like there is nothing I hated more than being a student. Not a student of things I like, but like a high school and a college student. I smoked a lot in high school and
Mhm.
college because there is nothing I hated more than a classroom. Like I used to voice this in second grade. My mom worked at the school that I went to elementary school, and I would always get in trouble because my mom was not like one of my teachers, but I would raise my hand in class, and I've raised my hand and asked the teacher in second grade. I asked, "What is the point of this?" Was like, what is this going to do for us? And I would always get in trouble for asking things like that until I was just like beaten down, and I was like, I guess I can't speak my thoughts anymore, so I got to just show up. And then by the time I got into high school and like had access to things that would numb me a little bit, I was like, let's get numbed up because life is shit right now. I was like, I am not where I want to be. I got to go to school every day for 7 hours when there's probably 45 minutes of actual productive work going on. I was like, this sucks. So, um, really good reminder, especially now, because weed's only been legal in New Jersey for a year or two. So now all of a sudden it's like everywhere all of a sudden again. And it's like, it's tempting, and it
Mhm.
definitely calls. And it's nice to think of that. Like, am I using it to tap in to myself or to tap out of things? That's such a good way to
And
put it.
let's be honest, we all love being high. I love being high. But you realize you can be high on life. You can be high on your breath. You can be high on dancing. I know people that could dance like an hour and they're like so high, sweating, and they're like in bliss. Or you can be high on running or exercise and music. It's great to be high. Just when you realize you can get high from your own instrument, as Michelle was saying, that's it. Then we can add some sparkles here and there, like if you need like do a microdose journey or do like a mushroom journey or ayahuasca journey, they help you to connect even more to yourself. But day to day, you are the magic and you are the medicine. So that you're the strongest plant medicine.
Jose, we need to just like make you a third person on this
For
podcast. It's
real,
so
we're gonna have to,
powerful
yeah, have you.
having you here. Expect many more of these conversations. To all of our listeners, um, this is far from the last time we're gonna chat with Jose, because
Mhm.
I know this has been so impactful for the people listening that just need these reminders, including me. I take so much away when you speak. I've learned and implemented so much, and I have more to do. So Jose, as you release new breathwork recordings and things like that, let us know, please. I want to share these with our listeners, and to everyone who's here, if you're looking for more Jose, just check the description. We're going to drop everything. If you're looking for more of this podcast, let us know what you're loving. Go to creationtocashflow.com. Leave us voice recordings. Tell us if you like this episode. Ask us questions and we'll turn it into an episode. Leave us reviews. You could find our short form on at creation to cashflow. You can watch the long form video on YouTube if you guys want to actually see us sitting here chatting. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Get Ahead with Nick, and you can follow Michelle at Michelle JH with two L's, four E's, JH. And thanks for listening, everyone.